Buckeye Talk post-game from Ohio State's 59-7 victory over Akron here at Ohio Stadium. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com. I'm along with Stephen Means and Doug Lesmerises, and we are grading Kyle McCord as we do grading the starting quarterback after every Ohio State game. This was his first start, his first appearance as an Ohio State Buckeye, his first appearance as a college football player. 13 of 18, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception on the last pass he threw of the night. The vast majority of those yards were after the catch, like the vast majority. 85-yard play for Emeka Egbuka, big plays for some other guys on just shovel passes that got turned into touchdowns. So overall, a fairly efficient night, but the receivers piled up a lot of that yardage on their own. So, Doug, what grade would you give Kyle McCord?
Oh, man, because, we're not grading him on the you're a true freshman and you've never played before scale, right? We're grading him on the you're the starting quarterback for Ohio State and how'd you play scale, right? We have to grade him on the same scale that we graded C.J. Stroud on. And I graded a lot of things off over the first 3 games for C.J. Stroud because the stuff he did do was kind of easy. Well, there's nothing easier than a 1-inch pass on a jet sweep. Yeah. He made at least two good throws. The one to Jackson Smith and Jigba, as Stephen pointed out on the play, JSN did make a nice move back to the ball, but he kind of put it in a spot where he could get to it. And then they set it up perfectly at the end of the half when they called the timeouts on defense, got the punt back, and then he threw a 39-yarder to Garrett Wilson. That was let's let Kyle do something with his arm, and he did it. So he did make a couple throws. I'll give him a C+. I'm between a C and a C+. I'll give him a C+, but I guess I'm reminding myself you don't really get to be graded on a curve because you're Ohio State starting quarterback, and that's the deal.
Steven, what's your grade for Kyle McCord?
It was a C+. And it's because he basically did what I said he was going to do when we talked about this on the pod. He did some things that made you go, CJ can't do that. But then he also did those exact same things, and one of them ended up in a pick. Some of them ended up with too high passes, too low passes. It seemed like sometimes he was throwing at 100% when the pass needed to be at 75%. He was up and down the way that's just how the style of quarterback he is. It has to get reeled in a little bit. And so C+, solid day, but I didn't see anything for the most part that made me feel like this is a battle. It showed me I see why C.J. Stroud won the job in the offseason. That's what I found. I felt that way today. You guys might feel differently.
I'm going to give him a solid C. Started this game off with a backwards pass. Went for a 6-yard loss and a wild throw, and then locked it in. Was completed 11 of 12 at one point, and then throws the interception at the end. As Steven said, that was just not a good play. He sort of sidestepped a sack and then sidearmed it right into a guy's tummy, and it went for a pick. So, but really in the middle, you saw some good things. I think the important thing to remember is what you're saying, Doug, is true that he was asked to do a lot of easy things and did them. I think, but part of this offense is just get the ball in space to these guys and let them do what they're supposed to do. And that's something C.J. Stroud hasn't always been perfect at. So I give him some credit for doing that, for especially finding Jackson Smith and Jigba. We've had other games where it seems like Jackson Smith and Jigba gets just forgotten for entire halves or longer. And Kyle McCord seemed to kind of lock in with him pretty early tonight and take advantage of that. But I think you have to look at that first couple series, especially that first series, which really led to points because that left Akron with a short field that they scored off of. You could argue it helped with some points, and then the last pass he threw for the interception, those bring his grade down for me.
He was clearly very nervous. I would say I did see some things that make me think, okay, I think his upside throwing it is higher than CJ's, and I thought there were a couple throws tonight that made me think that. So we have a lot to talk about this week in terms of where they go from here at the quarterback position, but I would not come out of this saying, oh, C.J. Stroud's still the starter for sure, because I'm grading the C+, we're all in that range, based on how he played tonight. This test. But I thought I saw flashes of what could be there, and I'm interested in seeing a little more of that.
Let me just round that real quick. I agree. I think his upside might be higher, but I think the basement might also be lower. So it's like what
right now.
Right now. So the question is with him might just be the question with CJ is can he raise his ceiling? With Kyle McCord is can you raise your basement, because it's about what does Ryan Day want in a quarterback. And so depending on what he wants is who's going to end up being the starting quarterback at the end of the day.
Ryan Day said something after the game that, like, as you mentioned, like the nervousness, and you could tell that there were some nerves for Kyle McCord, especially on those first couple series. That's why they kind of changed things on that second series and went to more like the jet sweeps and stuff to kind of let him get in a rhythm. And then he did seem to open up. I thought there was some more vertical comfort for him after that. I would also say too that. Everybody gets their first chance to get in and be rusty, and for C.J. Stroud, it took like a half against Minnesota for that rust to come off, and then he got in too. So I kind of agree with Doug that like this is sort of the first step for Kyle McCord, and then now it's just a question of when does he get that second step and how do you look the next time. There's so many things about this team where it's just in flux. It's fluid. It's going to kind of be a thing that you're going to have to follow week to week. There isn't the certainty that you have like baked into this team, this roster that you often do with Ohio State, and I think quarterback's just going to be one of those things, and it may last all season as to feeling a little bit uncertain about exactly where things are going to go. Get the text, 614-350-3315. Ryan Day did not commit to who was going to be the quarterback next week. He said C.J. Stroud will be reevaluated, said his arm was feeling stronger today. So I would expect him to start at Rutgers, but we'll see. And when we know, we will let you know at Buckeye Talk.